Let's take a look at players who are struggling. The guys that maybe you can get in a buy low deal. But more importantly, it's just important to look at what's happening, why it's happening, and can it be fixed? Michael Bolton, you can fix all of us.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I am actually the first of the wildcard rounds. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day, and for making Locked On the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. I appreciate everyone who has got us there. We're trying to get this show to 100k subs as well on YouTube, so that's the next thing we're pushing to. So if you haven't subscribed yet, let's hit that 100k mark. All right, we are talking about buy low players. Who at the moment is struggling? Now, the usual caveats apply, but I need to say them because just in case there's new people. I'm going to mention 6 names. These are not the only buy low players. What about? Yep, maybe. Right, but these are the 6 that we're talking about here. Do you have to buy low on them? No. Will the person who has them give up on them? Maybe. This is where negotiation comes in. It's more about, that's not happening how we thought it would. And there's some really clear outlier stats happening that are going to push it back up. So if you have that player on your team, you shouldn't be like, oh my God, look at me, I suck. No, you'd be like, okay, well, there's hope here. Or there's hope for this to improve. And if you get them in a trade, so be it. And if you don't, it's more about, again, it's an underperformer that maybe you target in a buy low deal. But you might not, because these things are hard to execute, especially if you're here as a double onyx, like everyone knows everything in your league, so no one's able to do anything like that. You're all too good for it, so don't worry about it. Let's talk buy lows. Let's get into the first one, and we are going to go to a team that, has garnered a little bit of my attention, especially yesterday's show, the Sacramento Kings. Domantas Sabonis, I will again, and there's a few players that we're going to talk about on this show today that I was not high on heading into the season. I was well below market rates and probably copped a bit of crap for it, to be honest. But that's okay. But they are underperforming my expectations, which is probably even worse. Sabonis, people were taking him at the turn of round 1 and round 2. And I was like, no, I won't do that. That is not for me. I have him, rest of season for head-to-head leagues, sitting at number 35. That's where I have him. That's where I had him around that back end of the second round, start of the third round, the whole time through. He is, over the last 2 weeks, 60th. And yes, he's recovering from a hamstring injury. He also suffered a hamstring injury last season. And yeah, that's done now, but he's also now dealing with a ribcage sprain. These things are impacting him. But it is possible that the guy that you thought was an Iron Man is just not. Older, banged up, because injuries, they just can happen. What are the actual things that are causing the problem with Domantas Sabonis? If you are watching this on the screen, you can see that, again, I've got him projected 35. He's 60th. I've got him projected at 45 fantasy points. He's under 42. He's averaging 17 and 14. The 14 rebounds are great. He's at 4.6 assists. His field goal is absolutely in the toilet, and that's where you want to start, because this is not a 45% shooter. He just isn't, right? It's Domantas Sabonis. He's not a 45% shooter. That, I think, should be relatively self-explanatory. And while last season he shot 40+% from 3, which is fake, right? We knew that he's not that shooter and his volume's really low. He's at 10% from 3. Also fake. That is going to be better. So let's add those two things together, and then he's 51% from 2. It's all going to improve. I've got no question about that. He's banged up. He is dealing with this rib thing, and there's probably an impact on some of the shooting stuff as a part of it. But you start off with missing the start of the season. You start off with him struggling. You start off with another injury. You start off with missed games. And then you come back to this, and the team struggling as a whole. The person who has Sabonis might just be like, bro, why did I waste this pick? Now, again, I think 30s is the best spot for him. So if you're buying low, you're not sending anyone better than that. So in my mind, you might think he can get back, Josh, and be a top 15 guy. And if you think that, good luck to you. That's okay. And that gives you a broader buy low range on what Sabonis can do. I just don't think that is, a realistic outcome. Now, this, again, it's very easy to see this. He's at 59% from the field last season, 59.4 the season before, 61.5 the season before. Right? Incredibly easy to see how that's going to step up. Incredibly easy. It's really not hard. Now, one of the things that I am worried about is the assists, which sat at 6 and then 8.2 the last 2 seasons. But we talked about this, that when Levine arrived, he was not going to be as big of an assist, or he wasn't a big assist guy. And not only that, they've added Schroeder and Westbrook on top of it. I am worried about the assists. I'm worried about they're not coming back. But the other part is like, he doesn't block shots as a general rule, but you should expect half a block a game. He's at 0.2. Right, that's not much. And the threes, as I said, like he's not a good shooter, but he's going to hit more than this. There's ample ways for Sabonis to improve from here. It's really not a difficult thing to get into. The next one is one that is going to be very frustrating. And this is a little bit of an opposite situation for me because I was pretty high on Jaren Jackson. I was very confident that Jaren Jackson was going to be available opening night after the toe surgery. I was very confident. I was correct. I also thought he'd be probably good enough to be a third-round player. And so far, I am very much not correct. It is an incredibly weird season. And honestly, there is an element of risk because we're going to talk another Memphis Grizzlies player in a second as well. There is an element of risk with this. And the element of risk is that the vibes are so rancid, they're so toxic in Memphis that it just never gets back. We never get it. And that will end up being a problem. At the moment, it's okay, he's 89th over the last 2 weeks. He's averaging just 30 fantasy points. I think he's a 38 guy. It's a big difference. He's averaging 16 points a game. He's 6 rebounds, that's fine. He's at 1.3 blocks, very low. What is going on with Jaren Jackson? Well, the big thing really is he's just not taking shots. And it doesn't really make any sense. And is some of it the Thomas Isolo offense? I guess that's part of it. But this man averaged 22 points a game the last 2 seasons. He had usage of 29 and 28 the last 2 seasons. Over the last 2 weeks, bro's rolling at under 20%. That is below average usage. So what? Just doesn't take shots anymore. Last season, 16 field goal attempts. They lose Desmond Bane. This season, 11. Now, I don't care how much of a Nostradamus you are. You can't predict that. I have no idea which direction this goes, though. I don't think it gets worse, but does it actually bounce back enough to make it make sense? I don't know. I do think it's a pretty sizable outlier, the points. That's one of the big outliers. The other part is, we can say Jaren Jackson doesn't block shots anymore, and I think there's a level of truth to that, sort of. His block numbers have been 1.5 and 1.6 the last 2 years. He's rolling at 1.3 over the last 2 weeks, but we did see a couple of decent block games recently. He had a 5 and a 2. But there was a stretch there where he had 1 block in 5 games. He's not the shot blocker that he used to be, but I do believe that 1.3 blocks can easily be 1.6 or 1.7. Also, this is a man that averaged 1.2 steals, 1.2 steals, 1.0 steals. He's at 0.5 steals. We know that steals are highly volatile. That is true. Jackson has not been volatile at all. And he might be, but 0.5 is such an incredibly low number that I have no reason to think that it won't be better. I've got no reason. There's nothing to suggest that. There's no, that is Anthony Simons steal level stuff. It's Ryan Anderson type stuff. Is he just that disengaged offensively and defensively? I guess that's possible. But realistically, he has to be better than this. So when we're talking about a buy low, I still think top 40 is possible. I would not send any top 50 player for Jaren Jackson. I would not do it. A top 60 player? Yeah. The vibes in Memphis are a risk, but there are certain things here that I just go, he will not be this bad at steals. And I feel very confident that he's not a 16 point per game scorer. That could blow up in my face completely, and he's just a below average usage guy now. I guess that could happen. I'll bank on the other side of it. We're 3 weeks in. It looks terrible. But I do put some faith that a guy that's been this good and this useful offensively will be able to get it back. To a degree anyway. Like, get me to 19 points maybe versus 16. I think there is a reasonable expectation of that. His teammate is going to be under the hot seat soon. Before we do that, today's episode, it is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game in the NBA and with FanDuel, you can jump in. You can live bet games. Everything from who'll score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Today's episode is also brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it is time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. It's no contracts, it's no monthly bills, there's no overages, no hidden fees, and no BS. You can say yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All the plans have high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts as well. So if you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That is mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. We're here talking about buy low players, guys that are currently struggling and they might be targets in trades, or they're guys that are on your team and they're almost certainly going to improve in some, if not all of the areas. We went to Memphis already, so let's go back there and talk about Demetrius Morant. It has been an absolutely putrid season from Morant. It is not only has it been marred with bad on-court play, but then he is, of course, being a clown in the locker room and getting suspended by the team for beefing with the coach. I still think in a head-to-head league and in a points league, Ja Morant can be great. I think that in a head-to-head category league, he can be a almost top 25 player. In a points league, he can almost get to 44 points. I will say this. This Ja Morant is not the same Ja Morant of 3 years ago. His explosion is not there anymore. His speed and athleticism is not the same anymore. That is all very true. All of that is accurate. But he is the 50th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. He's also, if you look at straight 9-count ranking, I think 176th, which is a clearly insane number. So when we're talking about what Morant is doing, there's just a million outliers. He is averaging 18 points a game over the last 2 weeks. 8.9 assists, you love that. You love it. 1.4 steals, actually fantastic. But man, he's hitting under 33%, not from three, overall. His three-point shooting is 14%. On the flip side, he has barely missed a free throws at 95% from the line. And it's one of the things I talked about in the preseason, I think. How we look at Morant, we talk about his 9-cat value, and there was a common thing that was said, Morant just doesn't, he hurts all the percentages, which is not true, clearly. He's not that level of free throw shooter, but he was 82 and 81 the last 2 seasons. He was also almost at 2 threes a game the last 2 seasons. Everything at the moment is just yuck. His usage is not really that different, though. That's the difference between him and Jaren Jackson, is he still sits at 32 usage, which is actually higher than last season. So it's realistically he's hitting 14% on threes, 41% on twos, a 43% true shooting. The high turnovers, they're really high, right? And maybe that is able to come down somewhat. He was 3.7 last season. He's actually 3.6 for this season, but over the last 7 games, he's at 4.4. So that's up. But it's all shooting. And that's realistically what so many of these things are, is that shooting slumps happen. You might not even think about them as a part of what's causing the problem, but they are what causes the problem. Because his usage, all on track. His assists, brilliant. Steals, great. Free throws, lovely. Can't hit a 2, can't hit a 3. And even if some of the athleticism is gone, some of his attacking of the rim is gone, and it has, he's not that player anymore. Nobody is this bad. Or if they are, good luck getting minutes. Because you can't be this bad continually. And until I see that for a longer period of time, I'm just going to choose to believe that Ja Morant is not this level of bad. Yeah, like we said with Jaren, all the vibe stuff is still true. Like, there's still weirdness going on with this Grizzlies team. It's still very strange. I don't know what the end goal is here, but something needs to happen. It needs to either be Isolo is fired or Morant and Jackson pull their head in. The other thing that is basically since the suspension, Morant's minutes are up. He's playing 33 a night. Past seasons, he played 30. Well, the past season, he played 30 minutes. So he's up at 33 a night. On higher usage. They are all of the recipes to having actually, like, I say this, but like a breakout? It's not really a breakout, but like a surprising fantasy season. He just can't hit a shot. And while we can have doubts about his shooting prowess, he was a 31% three-point shooter last season, but and he's not a good shooter. He has to still double his current mark to get up to that number. And then that puts you basically where you need to be. You get an extra 3 a game. You add 3 points onto that scoring. You're at 21 a game, and then we don't even talk about how bad the twos are, where he's at 52 and 55 the last 2 years. So much space to be able to improve. It is obvious. I told you this was heavily flavored by Memphis Grizzlies. This guy's a former Memphis Grizzly. You know who it is. And I didn't do Desmond Bane on the buy lows last week. I think it's more useful to do it right now because he had a big game. And once someone has a big game, it's often the buy low disappears. But he went straight back into a terrible game. And that gives you the idea that, I guess the good game was the outlier and he's just terrible. Right? There is a psychological component to that. I'm here to tell you though, much like Domantas Sabonis, I was not interested in drafting Desmond Bane at ADP. He was going in round 3. No way for me. Outside the top 50, very comfortably is where I had him. Rest of season, I've got him 71. He's currently 173rd over the last 2 weeks. He's averaging under 25 fantasy points, which honestly, it's a number you would drop. But you don't drop it because I think there is so much room here to grow. What is going on with him? What is the problem? Why is he not scoring? 12.9 points per game. 12.9. Desmond Bane is, there is a problem with Orlando's offense, the offensive schemes, maybe the coaching, maybe the other players. Right? There are problems there. But I realistically don't think that Bane in any situation is a 13-point per game scorer. One of the reasons I was off Bane this season is because I thought his usage would suffer. And that is absolutely bang on. He was 23 usage last season, 27 the year before. He's down to under 20 over the last 7 games. He's also down to under 30 minutes. Largely, the 30 minutes down is because there was an ejection in there. And there were a couple of blowouts also in there. And that's hurt the minutes. But what else is happening? He's at 82 from the line, which honestly, given who Desmond Bane is, 82 from the line is low. This is an 88% guy. And we talk about this often. 82 is good. But when you're banking on 88, 82 is bad. Because when you've built your team around having that reliability, you go from excellent to good, it's a sizable drop-off. We would be worried if someone went 82 to 76 because that little Z-score number would flip from positive to negative and now you'd call them a negative. It's the same drop to go from 82 to 86, but we don't really think about it. It's there. It's impacting, and you probably don't even see that as an issue. He's at 31% from 3. He's also just not taking threes. Last season, Bane shot 39% from 3. He was 38 the year before that, 41 the year before that. There's a clear track record of being very good at shooting threes. We know that. That is who Desmond Bane is. The worrying part here is that his three-point attempts have decreased the last 3 years. 8.6 to 6.1, down to 4.2 this season, which is down to 3.7 the last 7 games. I would have to expect that number rises. I don't know why he's not taking any threes. And it's not that he's just because he's getting fewer shots. He's actually, proportion of his shots is down as well, from 40% down to 32. That needs to step up. And it's also impacting his field goal percentage, clearly, because he's also at under 50% as well from 2. And he was 55 and 54 and 53 the last 3 years. They might not seem like big things, but 4% on your 2s, 5% on your free throws, 7% on your 3s, plus losing a couple of shots leads to absolute disaster. Oh yeah, and did I mention that he's a 1 steal per game guy that's averaging half a steal? Because that's happening as well. There is nothing really good that is happening. One of the things I was a little worried about is how much he would lose in assists, and he has lost. He's down to 4.3, but that's sort of where I expected it, down from 5.3. But it's the other stuff that there's just no reason for it to be that bad. And I feel pretty confident that at least some of these things, like the percentages, will go up. He will shoot better from 2. He'll shoot better from 3. I actually fully expect he'll shoot better from the line. Will he get the usage up? I certainly hope so. But it's all about where your expectation sits. I don't think of him as a top 30 player, or 40, or 50. But if someone's on the verge of dropping him, he's an automatic pickup. If you want to send a couple of bad players for him, you do that. Now, you probably won't be able to do it because someone probably overspent to get Desmond Bane in a draft. That's probably true. So this one's more of one of those ones. The person who has Bane might be reactive and making stupid moves because of that last game. The person who has Bane might be just completely fed up. Right? Even though they invested a huge amount, we're 3 weeks removed from the start of the season now, that some of the draft shine has dulled. But all it takes is just a quick look at some of the outliers here for Bane to understand that, yeah, like, there's things that are going to easily improve. We've got 2 more names to talk about. Today's episode, though, it is brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being live to watch those games. But getting tickets, it's a total headache. You're waiting in queues, you've got surprise fees, you've got prices that jump right before you go to checkout. It can be easy to get frustrated. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives you the advantage as a fan. It's the ultimate hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Their zone deals are a complete game changer. You just pick the area that you want to sit. Game Time looks at that area and chooses the best seat for you, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Today's episode is also brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, but every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, and beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that is robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Let's go through the last couple of buy low guys that I want to talk about. And for this, we're actually going to double team a certain squad as well. We're going to go Western Conference, and we're going to go Pacific Northwest, and we're going to go to Portland. Because Toumani Camara was someone that I was relatively high on heading into this season. And he has been a very clear disappointment at this stage. Camara, over the last week, is the 131st ranked player. I do have him as a top 100 player, and some of my projections for him have been toned down somewhat. I had him like at 85, 82, somewhere around that mark. His fantasy points are down to 25 over the last 2 weeks. Really bad. I think he's around a 30-point guy. What is actually going on? At the end of last season, Camara, when players were out, admittedly, he did play really well and he shot the ball extraordinarily well. Now, one of the things that we talk about a lot, end of season, silly season ball, there's elements of grains of salt to be put into it. Hot shooting stuff, you discount it. And I was at pains to talk about this with those hot season or those end of season guys, Denny Avdia, Josh Giddey, that when I projected them out this season, it was nothing to do with hot shooting, right? The shooting numbers were pulled right back, which is everything else looked good. Camara, I also pulled back some of his shooting, but I don't know that I projected the shooting back enough. I thought he'd turned into a reliably good shooter. 38% from 3. Doesn't seem that way at the moment, does it? He's at 31% from 3. But again, this man was 72 from the line last season. Over the last 6 games, 60. All right, so which one of these is true? Is he a 60% free throw guy? Or is he 72? Or he was 76 as a rookie. Now, none of these numbers are particularly strong or robust, but they're not terrible. 60 is terrible. That's got to be able to improve. So, he can't hit threes. He can't hit free throws. His field goals are at 40%. Like, it's such a huge drop, and we know the percentages are drivers of so many categories. Last season, he had a usage of 14%. I thought usage increase was coming. It has. He's at 16. He's at 17 usage over the last 6 games. That's all happened. He just can't hit shots. He had 9 field goal attempts a game last season. He is at 12 over the last 6 games. That was part of the projection that was correct. He just can't hit shots. The other worry here is, where are the steals? 1.5 steals per game. That was part of the appeal of Camara. Unbelievable high-level defender. I don't know if we're getting varianced on this. The year-to-year steals variance, there's always a possibility. But he's at 1 steal a game over the last 6. 1 steal a game. And he hasn't had a single steal in his last 2 games. And this is where it becomes interesting, isn't it? Because I can look at this and look at the steals and go, he's averaging 1 steal a game over the last 6. That's bad. If I go from last game backwards 6 games, you know how it looks? 0, 0, 2, 2, 2, 0. The whole thing that I talk about with variance of steals, game to game, week to week, and year to year, is that phenomenon exactly. Is that it looks like 1 steal a game over the last 2 weeks. But if we take 1 week in the middle there, he averaged 2 steals a game. Right? And that's obviously great. So when we talk about those numbers, it is a concern that the steals just aren't there as consistently as they were last season. He is still doing it enough. He has had 4 2+ steal games this season already, out of however many games he played, 9 games. The problem is he's not getting ones in those other ones, really. He's getting a lot of zeros. And that brings all that down. So, do we believe in the steals being that low? I don't. Free throws will improve, yes. Threes will improve, I do believe so, yeah. And the field goals push up, and then he pushes his way back into the top 100. Now, people will drop Camara. But I'll be honest with you, if you're in a points league, I don't know how much of a priority that is. I don't think that he's absolutely just a must-roster player. But in a category league, if someone does it, I would snap him up. There are some clear outliers as to why I think this will be better. What about the 9-cat loser? And this is the last one we do on these buy lows now. Is looking at someone, when you look at the Yahoo ranks and you look at the actual Durant head-to-head ranks for category leagues, where there is a big discrepancy that if someone's using those rankings, which again I believe are flawed, right, to evaluate that, Paolo's not a top 100 player, those you know the ones, that you might be able to take advantage. So who is the guy this season? Well, it's an interesting one because we head to Toumani's teammate. And what I like about this one from a buy low perspective is that there's a lot of narrative surrounding Shaedon Sharpe at the moment, because let's be honest, it hasn't been great. He has not had the start to the season that you would want. He got the extension. There's a lot of talk from people that he was the team's best player. And you'll say, no, there wasn't. There was. I heard it. It was wrong, but I heard it. And there are still the problems in his game that I don't really know what he does. One of the other things that's going on with Sharpe at the moment is no minutes. He's just not playing. He is, in Durant, head-to-head over the last 2 weeks, the 66th ranked player. So it's not as dire as you think it is. But for NICAT, he sits at 108. There's scope there for an ability to get trade value, along with the negative narrative. He's still averaging 19 points. He's at 6 rebounds, hitting 2 threes. He's at 1.8 steals. But he is hitting under 30% from 3. That's going to come up. So that means he's at 44% overall. He's at 83 from the line. That's good. That's a good number. But the threes will improve. The assists, well, I hope they do, because they're sitting at 1.2 a game, which is a terrible number. And you would hope that someone is not that inept at passing. My worry a little bit is Scoot coming back, and maybe because Drew Holiday is so good that Sharpe actually moves to the bench. But we talk about it, it's not like he's playing big minutes anyway. He's at 26 minutes a game. So there's a clear outlier there in just his overall production, let alone the discrepancy between a straight 9-cat rank and a head-to-head Durant rank, where people might think he's actually performing worse than he is. And I can still look at it and go, yeah, he can actually be way better than this. There's so many ways to improve on these numbers. And that is a bunch of buy low players. 2 in Memphis, Jaren Jackson, Ja Morant, a former Memphian, Desmond Bane. We had Toumani Camara and Shaedon Sharpe. And we had the first man, which was Domantas Sabonis, on that train wreck of a Kings team. Who are some other buy lows that you have? Drop those in the comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.